What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday, mainly covering the NFL, but we also sprinkle in a little bit of MLB, NBA. MLB this season's quickly approaching the postseason, and then NBA. Training camp starting up. Season, believe it or not, will be here in a month. So, also excited for that as a big fan. But NFL's number one right now. That's the hot topic. And week 3 officially kicks off tonight with an AFC East matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. And these two teams, probably it was 2 years ago, week 18, were battling it for the division. Both had like 11 wins. We thought this might be the next rivalry for the next decade of, Tua coming up, Josh Allen, obviously, more cement himself, but the Miami Dolphins electric offense. Buffalo, also electric offense, great defense by Sean McDermott. And Miami's defense did take a step in the right direction last year. Obviously, injuries banged them up. But since the end of last season, when Tyreek Hill, requested a trade, things have gone downhill. It seems like Mike McDaniel now is on the hot seat and people are calling for, his head. And, I can see why. I don't know if he's the best leader. I think, he's a funny guy. He's one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, but I don't know if he's quite a head coach, like, a guy that can get together a group of men when it's going, bad and, figuring it out. I think he's great, in those first couple of years when they were just kind of winning a bunch. And then when they hit adversity, they were kind of, never able to win those tough winter games and, go down. They would never be able to really come back. They always were a team that was built to play ahead. And unfortunately, week 1, they get smoked by the Colts. Defense looks awful. And I think that's been one of the biggest disappointments with Miami is their defense. These first 2 weeks have looked pretty bad after ranking like 4th total defense last year and like yards. So they've taken, that front seven. We thought Chopper, Jalen Phillips, everyone come back fully healthy. They might be able to, make a statement, but no, that has not been the case whatsoever. The Patriots, Drake May was dyeing them up. They were running the ball effectively. And then obviously week 1, the Colts didn't punt. Daniel Jones looked like, MVP candidate. Still does. He did dot up the Broncos defense to his credit, but still hasn't been a great first 2 weeks. It's not going to get easy on a short week heading to Buffalo. And I'm really curious how Miami responds because Mike McDaniel knows his job's probably on the line. If they start like 0-4, 0-5, he might get fired. And, Tua, there's a lot. Is he worth the franchise QB? Tyreek Hill, the rumors him getting traded to Kansas City or just getting traded in general. How does this offense respond? They looked better last week, but when it mattered most, they couldn't get the job done. The offensive line, wasn't great. The Patriots, were able to establish themselves with Milton Williams and Harold Landry later on in the game. And then obviously, Tua threw a late pick. And, that's what it is. They did get a touchdown call back because Achane stepped out of bounds. So things could have been looking differently if they won that game. But now their season's pretty much on the line. They lost to the Patriots in division. If they lose tonight in Buffalo, which, it's a -12 spread, they very well could. They're 0-3, 0-2 in the division. I don't know. I think things will look pretty bleak in Miami. But I think this is kind of their last chance. I think it's their last chance, make a statement, show, no, we have Mike McDaniel's back. Tua is the guy. They need to prove it tonight somehow, some way. Because Buffalo, that miraculous comeback against the Ravens, and then they just dominated the Jets. Josh Allen didn't need to be Superman. They just ran the ball with James Cook. They're probably going to look to do something similar. Just, build a big lead and, run the ball out. But I think this will be, an interesting one. I think maybe Miami can be a little bit desperate. Obviously, I'm taking Buffalo, though. I think their offense is just too much for this Miami Dolphins team to handle because if Josh Allen does need to be Superman, he will be. But he can run the ball. James Cook can run the ball. That ground game, Davis is a great RB2. And then they just have too many weapons. Keon Coleman looks like he's taking a step. Dalton Kincaid, fully healthy. Dawson Knox. Joshua Palmer, solid. Khalil Shakir, obviously we know what he is. They're one of the best offensive lines to contain Miami's front seven. I do think the Dolphins might be able to have some success through the air. It is, September, so they should be able to sling the ball around a little bit. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane out of the backfield. But I really just struggle with them keeping up because Buffalo's defense will be able to make some stops. Sean McDermott, in this team in week 2 made a statement with that defense saying, hey, I know the Ravens lit us up and they ran all over us. We're not going to let the Jets do the same. So they'll try. I think, that'll be the difference in this one. I think it may be close for a little, but Buffalo's offense will just be too much. So I have, Buffalo winning around like a, 31-20 kind of game. I think it will be interesting for a little bit, but the way Buffalo's been playing so far, they're the Super Bowl contenders. They don't want to have a slip up here. They know very businesslike what it takes to, beat teams that are down, and they know Miami well. So does Miami knows Buffalo well, but they know they have to take care of business. They're not, going to look over Miami, Josh Allen, Sean McDermott. They're too good for that. They know everyone matters because home field is the thing. That's why Kansas City has gone to the Super Bowl so many times, is because they have that home field. And that's super important, obviously. And the Ravens will be right there with them all year. So they will lose some games, but they don't want they don't want to lose division, and they don't want to give Miami any hope to come back. But with that being said, it still will be exciting. I know people think, with the -12 spread, it's going to be a blowout. Very well could be, but I think, like I said, Miami, they have to show some fight tonight. And if they just get rolled over like 35-7, Mike McDaniel may be fired after this game, because then this locker room's completely lost. And it still might be. But it should be intriguing just because of how will Miami respond. And then obviously it's always great seeing Josh Allen, the MVP, the level he's playing at. James Cook, just running through people. This offensive line with Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, just, you know, bulldozing over, creating those holes. And then, this Buffalo defense trying to continue to get better each week. Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver. I don't know if Ed Oliver's actually playing this one. I saw in the injury report he might be a little bit banged up, but we'll see. I think Buffalo's defense will make just enough plays in this one. But, division matchups are always exciting because we might get an unexpected close game in, when we don't expect it. So, and we did have a great game last year when Tua came back. I believe went to overtime between these two teams. So hopefully we get another electric one like that. But with that being said, it is officially time to do our AI analytic game picks using our model to predict every week 3 NFL game. And last week, I'm doing my thoughts, my predictions, and comparing it to the AIs. The first week, AI beat me by 1 game. This week, I beat AI by 3 games. So I don't want to, pat myself on the back too much, but that was impressive. A 2-game lead on our AI model. The games that got wrong was Pittsburgh versus Seattle. I also got that wrong, so no shame in that. New Orleans versus San Francisco, obviously with Mac Jones starting, I think they were a little bit scared. Just George Kittle out in New Orleans at home, but I rode San Fran still. I trusted Kyle Shanahan and the talent that prevailed for me. Miami versus New England, they thought maybe at home. I mean, another 50-50 game, could have gone either way. I rode the Patriots, and I got that one right. KC versus Philly got wrong. They thought KC at home might be able to do it. Once again, if Travis Kelce catches that ball, maybe I'm 4 games behind the AI model. Minnesota versus Atlanta, we both got that wrong. Atlanta just came out, dominated the run game. We're getting after JJ McCarthy, so kudos to Atlanta. And then Houston versus Tampa. I trust Tampa Bay's offense more. Another close one where these were all coin flips. Baker Mayfield leads a game-winning drive, avoiding a sack on 4th and 10. Shout out Baker. I just trusted Baker a little bit more. So I proved I only got 3 games wrong. It got 6. So with that being said, I now have a 2-game lead on our AI model. But we already saw my week 3 picks. I posted that Tuesday. So if you haven't already, make sure to go check out. But it's also right here. So I'll just do a quick overview. Obviously, tonight I have Buffalo beating Miami, like we just previewed. I have Atlanta beating Carolina, Green Bay beating Cleveland, Houston beating Jacksonville in a great divisional game. In the battle of backups, I'm taking my Minnesota Vikings in a close one to beat the Bengals. I'm taking New England over Pittsburgh, in which should be a very close one, but Alex Highsmith out. I trust New England a little bit more in their defense to make some plays, get after Aaron Rodgers. I have a little bit of an upset here. I do have the Rams being Philly. I just haven't liked what I've seen from Philly's offense. Obviously, their defenses have been great, but I think the Rams, they're carrying that momentum in from last year. Puka Nacua, getting Devontae Adams over Cooper Kupp has been an upgrade for them. And Kyron Williams, obviously, in the backfield. Stafford, as long as he's healthy, this team's very dangerous. I have Tampa Bay starting off 3-0, beating the Jets at home. Indianapolis, Danny Dimes, they haven't punted yet, being Tennessee. I have the Las Vegas Raiders over the Commanders. Might be a little bit an upset, but I think Geno Smith is due for a bounce back game. And I'm also just a little bit scared with Jaden Daniels' knee. He's day to day. So just the concern there kind of scares me. He might play, but still, I still haven't loved what I've seen from Washington's offense through 2 weeks. So give me the Raiders. I think their defense has been playing better than I expected with Pete Carroll. I have the Chargers beating the Broncos at home. Should be a great game. Denver's obviously pissed from that, call, which I think was a little bit BS. They should be 2-0, facing the 2-0 Chargers. Just Chargers at home. I like the Chargers here. I have Seattle taking care of New Orleans at home, and then Dallas being Chicago. Arizona, my NFC West pick being the Niners at home should be another great game. Kansas City versus New York, two desperate teams looking to get their first win. Obviously taking, the Chiefs, I think once again their last stand. And then what should be an electric Monday night game, Detroit, the 52-point Detroit Lions, laying that, given the Chicago Bears belt to ass versus the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens at home, I slightly like them more. They, have been so fun so far to start the season. But with that being said, now it's time for our AI model picks, see where we agree, disagree with, and just get into it. So the first game up was Buffalo versus Indy, and not much to say here. The confidence level is pretty high. Buffalo's at home. They're the better team, better QB play, better defense right now. They trust Buffalo. So we agree there. Atlanta versus Carolina. It also likes Atlanta just with the run game they've been able to provide. And then the defense, getting after it. Carolina's offense is still working through some things. They did show some hope last week, but Atlanta, it should not be a problem in this one, just the way they looked against the Vikings. I think they could be a sleeper wild card contender. Green Bay versus Cleveland. No surprise here. Green Bay as well. Green Bay's looked like the best team in football, one of the most complete teams. Their first road test is going to Cleveland, and Myles Garrett will put up a fight. That'll definitely be a good pass rushing test because Cleveland's defense was even getting after Baltimore a little bit last week, but obviously they were able to pull away and win that one. So, kudos to, Green Bay for that. I think it's not going to be, the biggest test. Obviously, first road test, they got to play some better teams, but they'll handle business. Next up, New England versus Pittsburgh. It likes New England in this one. I think with just the Highsmith injury pointed out in the Patriots defense, Harold Landry's been, a stud. Millen Williams, Drake May, that the offense looked much better. They trust New England to win that one. Houston versus Jacksonville. This is the first one we're going to disagree with. It likes Jacksonville in this one. I think at home, a chance to bounce back. The Liam Cohen offense has been good. They've been some turnovers in there from Trevor Lawrence, but the ground game, they just, like Jacksonville at home. So first one we disagree on, Cincinnati versus Minnesota. It also likes Cincinnati. So that's two games we disagree on so far. Both quarterbacks are injured, but they trust Jake Browning. That's been starting games before, beat the Vikings 2 years ago. They got some momentum, from that late comeback win against Jacksonville versus JJ McCarthy being out. We're not really sure what we're going to see from Carson Wentz starting in his 6 different team in 6 seasons. So I can see it there. That game was very 50-50 to me, but I'm always going to take my Vikings. So that's two we disagree on. Rams versus Eagles. It likes the Eagles, defending Super Bowl champs, back home. They think the offense finally will get some things going. Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, the passing game, and still Saquon Barkley has had major success against the Rams. So they trust the Eagles to get this done. I really don't blame them. I think the biggest thing for me why I'm scared about this is the time zone, West going out East, 3-hour time difference. But the Rams, just the way this offense has been looking, defense has been high flying. I like a little sneaky upset here. So 3 games disagree on. Tampa Bay versus New York. That is one we don't disagree on. Tampa Bay, the better offense, the better defense at home, coached by Todd Bowles. Buccaneers start 3-0. Colts versus Tennessee. They like Indianapolis as well. I mean, it's hard to dislike the better. I mean, Cam Ward looks electric, but the Colts offense looks fully complete right now. Jonathan Taylor, Danny Dimes, bunch of different weapons, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce. So, you know how it is. You can't against Indianapolis, and they'll look to start 3-0. Las Vegas versus Washington. He actually likes Washington. So that'll be the 4th game we disagree on. Jane Daniels still day-to-day, so he might play, but at home, this Commanders offense is more electric. The Raiders still have a lot to work out. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, that system still is going to take time. So it likes Washington, just more proven team so far, and they like a bounce back at home for the Commanders. Denver versus LA. They also like LA. Justin Herbert, the better QB. Defenses are about the same so far. Denver's defense did get exposed. So I still trust them to make this a close one. And so is the AI model. A division game's always going to be close, but the home field advantage, better quarterback play. They like the Los Angeles Chargers. New Orleans versus Seattle. Both like Seattle here. Really no surprise. Dallas versus Chicago. In this one, they like Dallas, and I do too. I think the offense is just better. The Bears defense, Jalen Johnson out. I think CD, George Pickens will be able to have field day. I think Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, though, will be able to put up points. Him and Rome seem to have a good connection, but it's hard to pick the Bears after they looked the way they did last week. Arizona versus San Fran. They do like San Fran, so this will be the 5th game we disagree on. Can't really blame them. 50-50. Mac Jones looked great last week. You know, expect similar things. I had Arizona winning the NFC West. It hasn't looked pretty so far, but maybe this is the week. Hopefully, Marvin Harrison really gets things going. Trey McBride, James Conner on the ground. As long as they've been winning, I think they'll be able to make this a close one, and just hopefully Kyler Murray can pull some late game magic. But yeah, I don't really blame him here. San Francisco, Rob Saleh, that defense did, look a little bit suspect last week, but you still got Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, playmakers all over with Ricky Pearsall, Christian McCaffrey up front, Trent Williams. So should be a great game. They like San Fran. Kansas City versus New York. They also like Kansas City. Better QB. I think a team that's desperate for a win, they're going to get it here against the Giants, even though the Giants offense did look electric last week with Malik Neighbors. And then Detroit versus Baltimore. They like Baltimore as well. Just a close game, going to be explosive, but the better QB and just overall the better team. I think the best secondary in football at home. Derrick Henry, they just have more playmakers to get done. And obviously it helps when you're playing in one of the most passionate fan bases in Baltimore. So we have 5 games we disagree on. Arizona versus San Fran, Las Vegas versus Washington, LA versus Philadelphia, Cincinnati versus Minnesota, and Houston versus Jacksonville. So they should be a bunch of great games. I'm really intrigued to see, who wins this week, because 5 games is a lot to disagree on in 16. But I have a little bit of a cushion here. Like I said, 2-game lead. So hopefully, just stay the course, win at least 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5 to keep my lead. But let me know what you agree, disagree with in our AI mile. Do you agree more with my picks, the AI picks, or do you have any upsets we didn't mention? Like, do you see Cleveland pulling one against Green Bay, Carolina pulling one against Atlanta? We're always curious to get your guys' thoughts, and let me know what matchups you're most excited for this week. But as always, if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. We're going to be providing NFL content all year round and, all football season. And, it's already week 3. It already feels like it's flying by too fast. I want it to go back to week 1. But with that being said, as always, thank you guys for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe. Trying to hit the 100 subscriber goal. So it'd mean a lot, trying to provide this content. But as always, thank you for watching. Peace.